Welcome to the second hands-on workshop of the Murals Without Walls series. This second workshop has the theme of materials and possibilities. All three of our workshops have the overarching theme of the self, where we will explore who we are, celebrate and reflect on our own unique lived experience and expertise, and how we ultimately show up in our art-making process and production. This workshop will get us comfortable with the idea that first ideas and attempts are rarely the best or the end of any idea. You'll be encouraged to slow down, try again, question ideas, and break down your making process so that you work out any possible barriers or logistics before you start making cuts and applying materials to more expensive surfaces. If you're joining us after having participated in the first workshop, either live or recorded, welcome back. If you're starting with workshop 2, that's cool too. If at any time you're unsure of the format, or I make reference to something that has you confused, you can always go back and check the recorded version of the introduction and workshop 1. There is no right or wrong way to follow these workshops. Workshop outline. Here is an outline of what we'll be doing. In the live workshop, we will do a check-in and share one word that describes how we felt or what we experienced in the last workshop. If we didn't participate in the last workshop, we'll share an important word with each other. You can do this too on our Discord server. This is optional. Our first activity will be about identifying expectations and warming us up. We'll draw or paint a quick picture of something that is important to us, for example, our face or body. A stick person is just fine. A pet, our home or place we sleep, a favorite object, our favorite food, things like that. Then we'll draw it again, but we will try to draw or paint it worse. In the live workshop, we will share our feelings and observation in Discord, but we'll move very quickly into the second activity. The second activity is about idea generation. We will do an activity that generates some words, images, textures, and gestures that are personal to ourselves. This will take up the first half of the workshop and will be about coming up with ideas when we want to create but don't know where to start. We will write, draw, paint, cut, place, sketch, fold, and use our materials however we want. We will share some observations and questions together by chatting with our voice, signing through the interpreter, or sharing on the Discord channel if we feel like it. There will be a 5-minute scheduled break. Our third activity will focus on taking ideas we came up with in the second activity and eliminating or putting aside ideas we're not ready to work with. We will use our materials to continue an idea and move some ideas or work in progress to the side. Any remaining time in the workshop will be for chatting, sharing, asking questions, and posting to Discord. Tools and materials. Getting set up. For this workshop, I have spread out a few different materials on my art space. These include the materials that were available in the art kit to local artists who were able to pick it up in time, as well as a few other tools and materials I had in my space. I grabbed some additional markers, as well as some Chinese ink that I grabbed from Chinatown in Vancouver, so that I can be working in high contrast in these videos. I love recycled paper when I work on prototyping. We have this great pad of newsprint available, which is also excellent for prototyping. However, how you use your art kit and your materials are up to you. If you end up using a material in another activity before I prompt you to use it in this activity, that's fine. There is no one way to complete an activity or use your art kit. If you're working digitally, that's just fine, but I will encourage you to do some hands-on making in this workshop. However, if you want to stick to a digital-only exploration, that's cool too. You could simulate cutting or ripping by using a marquee or selection tool of your marks or images and moving them around. When we place objects, you could always bring in images from other sources. I will be speaking with the assumption that folks are using materials that can be ripped, folded, glued, and marked up, but however you want to translate these activities is completely up to you. In the live workshop, we'll spend the first 15 minutes of the workshop checking in on day 2 and telling each other one word that describes how we felt or what we experienced in this last workshop. If we didn't participate in the last workshop, we'll share an important word with each other. If you have a word that comes to mind, I encourage you to write it down, sign it, say it aloud, or hold it in your mind for a moment. Take a deep breath when you're ready, and then we'll get started with our first activity. If you haven't joined our Discord server and introduced yourself on the #introductions channel, I encourage you to do that. You could also join the #workshops-2-prototypes channel on Discord and share your words and experiences if you want there too. First activity. Our first activity will be about identifying and understanding our expectations. This is also a fun activity to warm us up and can be a great exercise if you're ever struggling to get going. We're going to draw or paint a quick picture of something that is important to us. It doesn't have to be a detailed or good picture. In fact, for this warm-up, I encourage you to aim for a draft or quick sketch that takes less than 2 minutes. Don't be scared by this time limit. This is just to help remind us that we're not making a product or picture that is for keeps. We're not planning to frame this activity when we're done. Here are a few ways you could start this activity. You could draw your face or body. It could be a stick person or cartoon. It does not have to be accurate. You could draw a pet or an animal that is important to you. You could draw an icon or logo that represents you. You could draw your favorite meal. Keep in mind you're just trying to draw something quick. If you haven't gotten started, let's go. Okay, well done. Don't worry if you haven't finished yet. I encourage you to leave your drawing or painting where it is and get ready for the next part of the warm-up. Now what we're going to do is draw or paint or make our picture a second time, but we are going to try to make it look worse. Worse and better are really subjective terms, and they are defined by who's looking at it. So you get to decide how to make your drawing worse. Here are a few ways you could start this part of the activity. You could draw or paint it again, but try and go really fast. You could make with your non-dominant hand or elbow. If you usually work with your chin or mouth, you could try making with another body part that you don't regularly use. You could intentionally move, or dance, or look away while you make your drawing. Remember, you get to define what makes it worse. I am very able-bodied, so the ways that I demonstrate making it more difficult to make a careful or intentional mark may be the same as a challenge you or another participant deals with normally. So it's not up to me or anyone else to tell you what would make your drawing worse or better. Let's give ourselves another 2 minutes. If you end up finishing quickly, I encourage you to keep adding to your drawing. Remember, you can't do a bad job because that's part of our goal. Okay, good job. This activity is a way to practice understanding that the work that we do in this workshop or in our studio time doesn't need to be perfect the first or second, or in fact, any time. And that getting ideas simply onto the page is often more important than doing something good or shareable. It can feel good to have permission to fail and it's an important practice for serious artists who are often burdened with needing to do a good job at every step of creating. A challenge. Now comes the most difficult part of the live workshop. We're not going to spend time sharing, and we're going to go directly to the next activity. This might be really challenging and frustrating because you really want to share. And I agree, this is a fun activity. But I'm going to encourage you not to this time for the following reason. Fast thumbnails, warm-ups, mistakes, and drafts don't have to be shared. And this can be especially challenging these days now that the internet has people sharing all the time. Even before the social web, I remember growing up as a creative person being always asked or pressured to show people my sketchbook. While I am a competent illustrator, I was always nervous to use my sketchbook to quickly mark down an idea or draw something badly and quickly as a sketch, because my sketchbook had become a fetishized object or something that people felt they deserved to see. Sometimes people would believe they were paying me a compliment by asking to see my sketchbook. And I was always afraid that someone was going to not know what to say or pay me a compliment simply because they felt they needed to. The word sketchbook started out as something that gave me permission to sketch or quickly draw something that wasn't for sharing or framing or selling, but became a collection of work that people thought they were still entitled to see or share. This experience is not necessarily the same as your own. There are lots of reasons to keep your prototypes and process work, but it's important to make space for private exploration and experimentation. It's important to let ourselves fail or make mistakes and learn from them without needing validation, feedback, or criticism from our community or peers. It helps us build an understanding and trust with those whom we do share our ideas and early concepts with, and gives us permission to quietly throw things into the recycling bin so we can move on to the next thing without being burdened by an external influence, good or bad. That was a lot of talking to give you time to finish your drawing and to let you feel however you feel with my encouraging you to not share this activity. I can't stop you from sharing on the Discord channel or wherever you choose to share. That's totally up to you. But I appreciate you listening and spending a moment considering my invitation to not share and let the experience be the thing you take away with you. If you need to take a break or rest, feel free to do so. This can be a really frustrating activity for a lot of people. Second activity. This next activity is about generating ideas, and we will have a chance to share and chat during and after this activity. We have now given ourselves permission to do something badly or unsuccessfully, and that can be important when we get ready to come up with ideas. Having a bad idea doesn't mean that you are a bad artist, and having a good idea that you can immediately act on doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good artist. Let's set aside those labels for a second and simply let all ideas be ideas. This activity is going to be a significant one, and we're going to give ourselves around 10 minutes to generate ideas. The goal is to try not and get stuck with any one idea, but to generate a bunch of ideas. Our main workshop theme is about the self. So I encourage you to come up with ideas that are important to you or part of your experience. But don't get too stuck on this for the first phase. Remember, any idea is a great way to work through this activity. Here are a few ways you could start making ideas. You could write down as many words or sentences or things you like or things that are important to you or even things that you like to share as you possibly can. You could sketch a bunch of thumbnails or quick little drawings without any details. You could draw some icons or objects that are important to you and make a stack of them. You could combine words, pictures, and objects into sections and explore groups and categories to generate ideas. You could write some point form notes or drawings of any ideas that pop into your head. You could start drawing or painting some gestural lines on a page and let your mind or imagination wander. You could also start by making some gestural lines and then ripping them up to see what happens. This is a great way to generate some ready-mades and open yourself up to possibilities. After encouraging you not to share in the last activity, in the live workshop, we'll be encouraging anyone who wants to turn on their camera or wants to share to do so after about 5 minutes of making. We'll give everybody 5 minutes to focus first so that we don't compare ourselves to others who might be quicker or may produce more things than us. It's not a competition, but it can feel that way in a workshop, so we want to be mindful and let people make at different speeds. When we invite people to turn on their cameras or start asking to share on the main Zoom workshop, this will allow our interpreters to translate any shared ideas in ASL and any questions for the facilitator to be answered in voice and sign language there. If you decide to spend your time in this activity sharing ideas or reading or participating in the Discord channel, that's great too. Being social is a great way to generate ideas when we create spaces that allow people to do so without overwhelming others who want to be quiet. It's one of the cool parts of having an online workshop like this, where we can create rooms or environments for different ways of making. We will encourage folks who want to casually socialize to hop into the Discord channel while we work to text or use the voice channel to chat if they want to be social while making. If you want to turn off your screen or your audio or even pause the pre-recorded video so you can work without distractions or a timer, go for it. The live workshop will resume 10 minutes after we start making and go right into a 5-minute break. So use the next 15 minutes however you would like. I'm going to try a few different techniques here to generate some ideas, so you can watch along if you want some help coming up with ideas yourself. You could generate ideas about places that are important to you. You could list things that are barriers to you doing the things you want to do. You could create an object and interact with it, playing a little game. Okay, that's 10 minutes. If you want to keep making, go ahead. If you spent that time chatting or sharing on Discord, that's great too. You can pause the video or keep making while I push ahead with the next activity. We also have a scheduled break now in the live session, so be sure to take breaks as you need it while you make on your own schedule. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. Welcome back. The previous two activities acknowledge that sometimes we want to make something good, or we feel pressured to only put things on paper if they are good, and that this can be a barrier to generating ideas. We work to get comfortable with the idea that we could simply make or create for the sake of making. And when looking for ideas for a project, that we can brainstorm big without needing to have a good idea right away, or to have a specific product, or even a complete idea of what we're going to make. It's a good exercise for any prototyping phase because it means that we don't discount something that isn't immediately shiny and polished, which, with some work, could become the best idea we've ever had. Third activity. Our third activity will focus on taking any ideas we came up with in the second activity and eliminate or putting aside ideas that we're not ready to work on. If you didn't come up with any ideas, that's okay too. There will be times when we sit down to make or feel pressured to come up with an idea for a project or even an art show, and nothing comes to mind. Because this next activity is about prototyping or doing some early thinking around a project, I'll give you some sample projects you could use for the next 10 minutes. You might come up with something better while you make, or you might work on this for the next 10 minutes and then decide it's not really something you want to continue. That's also a really important part of prototyping. Finding out early in the process of making of whether or not something is working for you. It's easier to stop and throw things away when they don't work when we are practicing prototyping, rather than struggling along and staying with the project because we don't want to waste the time we already spent on it. In the prototyping phase, you're still not trying to make a completed thing. Even if your sketch or collage or painting turns out great, if it does, then that just means you get a chance to make it even better when you move to the production step, having a really good example or draft to pull from. Your final idea might make use of more intentional materials or specific colors that you didn't have available in your studio making time, or include textures that are firmly secured so that it can be handled and shared by people who look by touching. If you didn't have any ideas that you want to explore from the last activity, here are some things you could try. You could make a little stage. As you build the stage, imagine who you would want to see coming onto the stage. You could recreate your selfie or self-portrait using your materials or drawing from the first workshop and build on the ideas you started. You could take any of the marks, words, and ready-mades you've created so far, including your two drawings from earlier, and rip them all up. The act of ripping paper can feel great when we're frustrated. And from those pieces of paper, we generate a whole bunch of lines and textures that can be used to create something new. In fact, I think this is what I will do with you over the next 10 minutes and build a drawing out of my marks. I'll start by placing some of my lines and objects, and as I start to see a picture I want to keep, I'll use my glue stick to glue them down. If you haven't already started making, let's make for the next 5 minutes on whatever idea or project you came up with. In the live workshop, after 5 minutes, I'll be welcoming people to share using the interpreters or their voice one at a time in Zoom. But remember, you can be sharing or chatting on Discord at any time while you make. Okay, that's 5 minutes. If you want to keep making, that's great. If you wanted to share your ideas or progress with other people on Discord, that's great too. In prototyping, we can really aim big and try things that we might not try if we were using expensive materials for a final project or if we intended to show the work to other people. That means if you don't like something or feel like something isn't working, set it aside and try it another way. Cut out sections you don't like or paste over them with a new piece of paper. Make notes so that if and when you make a completed version of your project, you'll remember why you did something, or you'll be reminded of what not to do to save yourself time and effort. Feel free to keep making. This is the last scheduled activity of the workshop, so you can take as much time as you like to work on your prototype. If you need or want my permission, I want to let you know that you don't have to keep anything from this session. Part of prototyping is letting things go. So if none of your explorations ended up being things that you want to build from, that's okay. Throw it out or recycle it. Cut it into pieces and use it as the start of another idea. Thank you for joining us for the second process-based workshop in the Murals Without Walls series. If you want to keep making, we encourage you to do that. These workshops are a starting point for you, and if you have lots of ideas, then that's great. You could also replay this workshop again to help you generate a new idea from scratch. Start by drawing something, anything, and then practice drawing it again, worse. But don't forget to take breaks and be kind to yourself, especially if no ideas or prototypes are working for you today. Some days it'll be easy, and some days it won't be. Listen to your body if it is telling you to stop, or if you are feeling pain. Practicing care is the most important thing. You could share your frustrations or barriers with folks on Discord if you wanted to, too. If you want to go right into the next workshop, you can do that as well. I look forward to seeing you at the next workshop.